celebration as a form of gratitude. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. So I heard this quote just a few days ago, and I thought it was really beautiful. There's some really valuable things in it, and it certainly made me think about how this applies specifically to myself. I think there's something valuable for me in it, and I guess because of that, I thought there might be something valuable for others in it as well. So I thought I would share the quote with you and some of my thoughts around it, of course, particularly as they apply to Qigong. Now, the actual quote was, "Celebration is a form of gratitude." Now, we'll start with talking specifically a little bit about Qigong. Even when we think about the word Qigong, it has two parts to it. Qi, which means energy, and Gong, which can be translated different ways. Two common ways of translating that is as skill or as work. And the two really aren't separate. There's this implication that we develop skill by working over time. And I think that's a really healthy understanding, to recognize we can develop skill with our energy by working with it over time. But sometimes, if we think about it as work, this can lead us to be maybe overly serious about it. Now, there's nothing wrong with being serious. Sometimes it's really important and good to be serious. But we can then start to think of it as just effort and hard and, something that we just have to grind away at. And that can maybe lead us to miss some of the beauty, some of the joy that we can have within our experience of it. Now also, depending on our circumstances, and this will apply not just to our Qigong practice, it'll apply to other things in our life as well. If there's something specific we're wanting to achieve, and in the case of Qigong practice, that could be, maybe we have some health challenges that we're wanting to improve, or we're wanting to achieve, a certain level of skill and accomplishment, or whatever it might be. In other areas of our life, maybe we're wanting to earn money for the purpose of, maybe having a home, or, any of these good things. And these are good things that we want. We can sometimes get so caught up in the grind of the process of getting there that it actually ends up weighing us down, and it actually makes the process more challenging than perhaps it needs to be. There's this principle that we talk about within Qigong practice, that where the attention goes, the energy flows. And so when we're thinking about something as work, again, we can naturally connect to that, the idea of it being difficult. On the other hand, when we celebrate something, that's a way of bringing attention to it. And so when we celebrate achievement, celebrate things along the way, this is reinforcing how the goodness of what it is that we're experiencing, what it is that we're doing. And so I think it's really valuable to take time to celebrate, because this actually creates, or can create, a positive reinforcing pattern within us that then helps us to send more energy towards that thing. So not necessarily to wait all the way until we achieve our ultimate goal, our ultimate aim, but to celebrate the steps along the way. And within Qigong practice, that could be all sorts of simple things. Sometimes it could be just celebrating being out in a beautiful natural environment and celebrating our experience of the energy that we experience there, the fresh energy from the trees, from the plants, from the water. You might not be able to see it, but there's a little stream behind me. You can probably hear it maybe. And celebrate that energy that we're experiencing just in that moment. And giving ourselves the opportunity to celebrate that will actually, because we're putting more of our attention onto it, will help us to actually derive more benefit from it than we otherwise would. If we just went, right, I've got to find somewhere where there's some good energy. Okay, I've found the place with good energy. Now I'm going to do my Qigong practice. When we find that place with good energy, celebrate, go, wow, isn't this wonderful? And we can create a positive reinforcing cycle. It can also be, beyond that. I'll give maybe another example or so. As we're doing different practices, we might have an ultimate aim that we want to get to, but there will be many little steps of progression along the way. And I think this is something I am pretty good at, or have been pretty good at. In that whenever I get another little glimpse of insight, another little step where, maybe something I hadn't noticed before, now I notice it, something I couldn't do as well as I want to do before, now I can do it. I find that wondrous. That's something that really gets me excited and really gets me happy and joyful. So I think that's something that I am good at celebrating. And I think that's a good thing to do, because celebrating those little steps, it reinforces within us that, hey, these little steps of progress are good. Let's send more energy towards that. That will actually help us to move on towards our ultimate aim. I think within my own life, what I haven't been so good at celebrating is achievements in other aspects of my life. And I think this comes for a variety of reasons. I'm guessing that amongst those of you watching this vlog, some of you might find celebrating easy, but I'm guessing there's going to be quite a number of people who are in a similar situation to myself, maybe for different reasons, where you maybe have got into a habit of not celebrating as regularly or easily as perhaps would be good for you. And yeah, again, there can be different reasons for that. And I think, some of the reasons for myself have been often, I think, because I have, maybe a great ultimate aim there, and I've recognized that there's a lot of work involved to get there. And so when I achieve something, I've often thought, well, okay, but it's just, I need to keep going. And so I haven't really recognized and allowed myself to celebrate that achievement. Now, again, I think I'm pretty good at that in small things within my Qigong practice, but I haven't been so good at it in other aspects of my life, where if I really look, I guess we're never truly objective, but somewhat objectively at some of the things I've done in my life, it's like, there have been some pretty significant achievements along the way. And so many times, I haven't taken the opportunity to celebrate them. And I think that has led to having less joy in my life, which I think, a healthy amount of joy is a good thing. And possibly it has actually slowed me down in moving towards some of the bigger aims that I want to achieve. Because I've thought about it more as just more work, rather than recognizing and allowing myself the experience of the joy from achieving some of the steps along the way. I think another thing that has maybe been a habit, a pattern that, maybe it's somewhat inherent within my personality, I don't know, maybe it's something that I've been taught by my environment, by other people around me, is kind of an idea of not wanting to celebrate too much, because that would mean I'm putting too much emphasis on myself and how good I am. Essentially, that would mean that I'm getting too proud or something like that, or somehow thinking of myself as better than others. Now, I think certainly there can be times when, putting too much emphasis on ourselves can be unhealthy. But at the same time, where our attention goes, our energy flows. When we've done something good and achieved something, it's really good to experience the joy of that, because that is going to naturally encourage us to do more good things. That's nothing to do with being better than anyone else. It's just supporting ourselves with our own energy onwards to other good things, and other good things, certainly in terms of what I've focused on within my life, that have often been very much actually about helping other people. So me achieving my own goals is helping more other people. And so I think in that sort of context, celebrating more is a really good thing. But I have had a pattern of, wanting to deflect away from that, not wanting to recognize in some way the things that I've achieved, the great experiences I've had along the way. And again, I don't think that's been helpful. I think in many ways it has it caused me to have less joy in my life than I otherwise might have, and probably slowed down the process of actually achieving more and doing more good for more people. So back to that quote, celebration is a form of gratitude. Thinking about it in that way, because again, with some of this maybe unhealthy pattern of thinking that I have had personally in my life over many years, a lot of that has, I think, come from not wanting it to be about me and being too proud and that sort of thing. But thinking of celebration as gratitude, certainly within my thinking, I don't have that same negative connotation to gratitude. And that, I think, can help me to shift my thinking about celebration and make me more willing, more ready to celebrate more easily by recognizing that in doing that, I'm actually being grateful. And gratitude is a good thing, and that makes it okay for me. And I think that might be able to spur me on to having more joy in my life and actually achieving more good things. So anyway, a little bit maybe rambling, because again, this is something I'm just thinking about for myself and thinking how I might apply it. I think it's going to be something valuable for me, and I hope maybe it'll be valuable for you too. Now, where did I get that quote from? It was actually something I heard a British comedian, Jimmy Carr, say. Now, some of you will know who Jimmy Carr is, and he's quite a character. And I don't know if it was an original quote from him or he got it from somewhere else. But my attitude is you take whatever good things you can from wherever they come. And so anyway, this one came from Jimmy Carr, which I thought was interesting as well. Anyway, I hope maybe there's been something of value to you in this vlog, and I look forward to seeing you on another one soon.